You're listening to Generation AI
from Live Person.
Welcome, everyone, to Generation AI. I am Ruth Zive, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joe Bradley, and it's our pleasure to be speaking today with Roey Mechrez. Roey is head of AI and EMEA general manager for Tulip Interfaces, which develops cutting-edge automation for the manufacturing industry. And today, we're going to deep dive with Roey into topics ranging from his very, very interesting career path. We're going to talk about the paradigm shift towards citizen developers caused by generative AI. And we're going to talk about how AI can make human work feel a lot more human. But before we officially welcome Roey to the show, as we always do, we would like to play a one-of-a-kind piece of AI-generated content that our team, Roey, has created especially for you. So here we go.
In the world where AI and manufacturing blend, Roey Mechrez is creating a new trend. At Tulip since September 2022, he's been the lead. Transforming the industry, that's indeed his creed. CEO and founder at Beyond Minds in his past. Leading top AI minds, a journey so vast. Before that, a PhD at Technion in Israel he achieved. In the realm of computer vision, he truly believed. Masters and bachelors at Tel Aviv UP pursued. In biomed engineering, his knowledge grew. Roey Mechrez, a name in Tech's Hall of Fame. AI in manufacturing, he's the one to acclaim.
Roey,
Wow.
You've officially been welcomed to Generation AI now. How'd that feel?
Very impressive, very impressive. Lots of info there from that AI piece. Really cool.
It likes to hit as many rhymes as it can, is what we've discovered about it over the course of the year.
Definitely, Ruth overperformed the pronunciation of my name.
I was going to say the AI couldn't get the pronunciation right, which makes me feel a little bit reassured because shows how I can actually add some value.
Still room to improve multimodality. So let's talk about Tulip, Roey. AI solutions on the front line of manufacturing. Tell us about what's going on with Tulip. Tell us a little about the company and tell us about the specific challenges that you address there.
Yeah, sure. So Tulip is around 9 years. Headquarters is in Boston. It was founded by people that did their PhD in MIT in Media Lab. That part of the concept was around machine and human, how they work together, machine and human interaction, if you like. And when it comes to manufacturing, that's the core of what manufacturing is. Around 20% of the world is people that work in shop floors and manufacturing and interact with physical world on an active basis. So Tulip is bringing no-code platform into the shop floor, and with its mindset of no-code, the idea is that everyone basically is, engineers in manufacturing, process engineers, manufacturing engineers can go and practice digitalization. And you don't need sophisticated IT teams to go and build these digital assets. You can come and do it by yourself. And of course, part of that, we have AI capabilities and computer vision and more generative AI items. But the platform itself is there to help operation and help frontline operation in manufacturing.
It's very interesting. We're going to come back to Tulip. But I think it would be helpful for our listeners to hear a little bit about your background, because you bring a lot of experiences to this discussion. In your career, you've been a founder, you've worked in academia. I think you were even an air traffic controller, and now you head up AI at Tulip. So talk a little bit specifically about how your background has influenced your approach to AI, your perspective on AI, because it's pretty eclectic background. And I'd really love to understand what's happened over the course of your career and how those experiences have changed your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the best place to start is when I did my master's in biomedical engineering, and I was dealing with different modalities such as MRI images and CT images and things like that. And when I was dealing with these images, I suddenly, discovered the wonderful world of computer vision, and I started to research computer vision. It was back then in the, narrow aspect of healthcare and medical images. And when I basically fell in love with what computer vision can offer, I decided to do a PhD in the field. So that's a few years ago. I did my PhD in computer vision. It was very eclectic PhD, so I did all sort of different research around style transfer. It was very fashionable these days. Back then, if you're familiar with these Van Gogh-like images, today it sounds almost simple. And super resolution and all sort of computer vision techniques. And it was super interesting because in 2012, more or less, just before I started my PhD, the modern era of deep learning arrived with AlexNet, to those who remember 11 years ago. And suddenly neural networks came back to the picture. And I remember the people that say, it's another technology, a new technology will come soon, and etc. But today, if you're talking about AI, you talk almost only about deep learning, and that's the same with computer vision. So yeah, I did my PhD. I came into the deep learning area and did all sort of publications, which then led to founding a company. So I've been an entrepreneur in the last 4 or 5 years before joining Tulip. The beginning as CTO, then as CEO. Super interesting journey. We raised $30 million and had some crazy customers and project that we have done, and ups and downs of being entrepreneur. Lots of people, globally, and unfortunately, we had to close the company because we haven't found a product market fit. And I joined Tulip a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, and now, just I guess since you've done your PhD, obviously, and been in the workforce, we've got the latest shift into generative AI here. You've talked a little bit about this, I gather, and the sort of paradigm shift involved in this change, and how it's really putting software engineers into new positions and really changing how, sort of overtaking machine learning in some ways. When you graph that onto the enterprise and big business, how do you see this all playing out? What does all this mean for the enterprise?
So I think what happened in the last few years is that, at the beginning we had a race to hire the best talent, and there was lack of talent, and everybody was, chasing top universities. But I think what happened along the years is that, universities started to teach machine learning in a professional way. Today we have machine learning everywhere. You can hire, offshore and nearshore, consulting, IT services, whatever you just need to boost your tech stack. And then, so it's not about the best research and the best technology and the best engineers. It's more about back into the product, right? Of course, you need good engineers, but you also need, good product and good ideas. And not necessarily the best researchers in the world. And I think that was the first wave, but I think now we even have another wave that came with ChatGPT in the last year and a half, is that the people that build AI solutions today are not even machine learning engineers, are software engineers. To use ChatGPT or DeepL or whatever large language model that exists through an API, you don't need to understand the backend of how to train this foundation model. And I think that's bring us to a much more interesting area, which is how we can take these capabilities and bring value to the world through applications. Which, that was always my point of view of how we can use technology to create value. Same with software, same with AI. I think it's not significantly different.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even in the case now where we have open source models and there are teams and companies training those models more and more as time goes on. Obviously a little bit more specialization needed there than just calling an existing API, but less and less as time goes on. A lot more off-the-shelf training algorithms, a lot more tooling around testing these models. It does seem to be kind of opening up.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I think it's super fascinating what happened. And I think, by the way, because of that paradigm shift, we see acceleration. The speed is crazy. And, while we're recording this podcast, there is probably the most fascinating, high-tech management change ever exist in Silicon Valley. And that's probably another acceleration to what is happening. Suddenly, OpenAI is not only there. There are many other companies that probably will use this opportunity, and we will see more language models and more amazing models that are, by the way, rooted in amazing research. So there is definitely room for research, but I think we're narrowing down the situation that 5, maybe 10, I don't know, 20 if you want, companies are doing their research on that level, on that depth, that have the resources to deal with that. And the rest are using that for amazing applications, which is not less important and not less complex.
Yeah, it's almost as though, the democratization of AI, the proliferation of AI has made it in some ways like a table stakes proposition for companies. Every company is an AI company. It used to be that every company was a software company, but it's rare that you come across a software company, at least today, or a technology company that doesn't have AI as part of its value proposition. You also, it was interesting to hear you talk about your background in academia and what you studied, and I'm wondering, do you think jobs are going away? I'd love to understand from your perspective this interplay between human and machine. Joe mentioned you need some measure of specialization, but clearly some jobs are going away. Is it that the AI is actually becoming more human, and so you don't need as many humans, or where do you see humans playing into the mix in a meaningful way?
Well, that's a philosophical question, obviously. I think that, during history, there was always technology that, put some job aside and other born. I think back, I think 100 years ago when you had lamp starters, I'm not sure what was the exact job title, but, people that woke up 5 a.m. to start the lights in the street, or to even wake people up before alarm clocks, knocking on the doors in the village to wake people up. And electricity replaced these people, or replaced these people's jobs, but it also created a lot of jobs. Without electricity, think about the amount of jobs we wouldn't have today without electricity.
For sure.
Same, I think, is happening with software, and I think you mentioned democratization. I think that's the most fascinating term here, because if you think about companies like Salesforce that created a CRM that is much easier. Before Salesforce, it took 3 years to have a team of 50 people building CRM from scratch. Or same with ERP, same with Figma, even same with Excel. Have you ever tried to done finance or planning without a spreadsheet, with pen and paper or whatever? And that's obviously replacing jobs. And what Tulip is trying to do is the same in manufacturing, on that sense.
Well, maybe let's take it from the philosophical. I agree with you. There's a whole philosophical discussion we could have about machines versus humans, but make it a little bit more practical, maybe even relative to Tulip. What do you think happens in the near term? What new jobs are going to be available, and what jobs do you think are actually not going to be necessary anymore?
Yeah, I'm frankly, I mainly believe in augmenting people. I think that's what AI is doing. If you think about our day-to-day, people that work next to a computer and do office work, I use ChatGPT all the time. I think it's an amazing tool. It helped my work amazingly. I have it open in my browser all the time. And it's just augmenting my work. What we're trying to do at Tulip is doing the same for the shop floor worker that is usually, doing physical work, and you can digitalize some of his work, but you're trying to digitalize it smarter. So again, augmenting people with smart tools. Some work maybe will remove, I don't know, people that transcribe, or maybe their work can be much more efficient and quicker. Translation is obviously, one field that is becoming much easier, but still,
Well, you mentioned medical imaging. Do you think radiologists go away, for instance?
I think it will transform more than anything. So again, AI is augmenting radiology. Obviously, there is many AI software today that is already outperform radiologists, medical doctors in finding what they need to find. And by the way, it's very tricky to do the research around that, because you need to look at expert agreement, kind of, because you don't have the ground truth, like what is a finding and what is not. So you need to check that. But still, AI, is outperform human ability in many different tasks. And I think that's amazing. That's push healthcare forward. And I'm sure that these doctors are needed elsewhere, and they will need to, be a layer on top of the AI, and deeper context. And maybe someday that will, automate as well with AI. But then we will have a more sophisticated job, or more deeper context that medical doctors will have to do. So yeah, I think it's transformation.
It's interesting to me because your work at Tulip is really in the 3-dimensional physical world as much as anything, and it seems like that's an area where, but though we've had a tremendous amount of progress in generative AI, it feels like we still have a long way to go. You're right on the edge of it, though. Like, how do you see, the development into kind of 3 space and the use cases there coming to life?
The term Industry 4.0, when it was created, people were imagining factories with only robots, no people. You don't even need lights, and products are coming out of the factory. Not sure when it was the last time you visit a factory, but that's so much far from the reality. The amount of human labor that is needed to produce almost everything, almost any product, is huge. Even the most sophisticated factories that has many robots and many of the processes are automated still have many people involved. And that's maybe 5% of manufacturing. The most majority of manufacturing involve people along the process in so many places that are doing. Most shop floors runs still with pen and paper. That's where that industry is. And by the way, not for a bad reason, not because they're not adopting technology. In some cases, it's more efficient. You're probably familiar with the term lean. It's very often used in startups as lean startup concept. But actually, lean came from manufacturing, and it came from Toyota. That was invented the idea of lean manufacturing. It's an entire theory of how you make better product with a higher quality and higher throughput, and how you optimize that in small steps all the time. Very similar to what we know as lean startup. You start with a scrappy product and improve it all the time. You don't bring 80-20 rule is the dominant power here. Continuous improvement, data-driven, etc. Now, what we are saying in Tulip is that this idea of lean can be also transformed into what we term augmented lean, which is how you practice lean with computers, with internet, with technology, with AI, if you want. I can refer the audience to a nice book by Nathan Linder, our founder, or Dr. Nathan Linder, that wrote a book named Augmented Lean with co-authors. And it's exactly about that, how you practice this smart manufacturing. And it's all about augmenting people. You won't find any idea there that is about replacing people. And it's still about efficiency and productivity and quality and all the good terms that the business need. And that's the idea. And that's democratization, by the way. You give power to the people.
Yeah, we see the same thing in the contact center environments. You know, they're as much as many talk about how you'll only be talking to the computer from now on, what we see more and more prevalent is you interact with more and more augmented humans, people who have tools that help them work and solve problems better and faster. I think, you know, in your domain, it makes even more sense given how hard the problems and how physical the problems are that you guys need to solve.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the use cases that I'm dealing with a lot is quality inspection, using computer vision to do defect detection in products. Very standard use case in manufacturing. There are companies that do that for 20 years or so. But I think one nice thing that AI did is that it lowered the bar for entry in using computer vision so drastically. You needed expensive hardware in the past, and you needed professional services and dedicated engineers that was like machine vision. It was expertise. Today, with the use of products, you can use a webcam, you can collect 100 images and train a model, deploy that in production all in the same day by learning, using some tools online. That's what's happening today. You don't need not a data science, not a software engineer. You just need a smart person that know how to use computer and software and some SaaS platforms, and you're ready.
It's another good practical example of how it's all been democratized.
Yeah, this field of machine vision have been seeing crazy democratization, and I think we will see more and more. OCR is a nice example. It used to be super complex solution 10 years ago. I remember when this, all the invoices screening platforms. I'm sure many of the people are using that for expenses, scan invoices. In the wild, any invoice, any condition, lighting condition, and it's you've been in your pocket for a week, and it's reading it and match it into your bank account and all good. We have many OCR applications in manufacturing as well, and it's super easy to use.
So you're EMEA GM for Tulip. You oversee operations and sales, and you're getting to see firsthand what causes enterprise companies to buy and make decisions around adopting artificial intelligence. What do you think, really moves the needle for them?
ROI. It's always the case. Always value. You always want to solve problems. If your product is solving a good problem that is painful for the company, that can lead to return of the investment and proof of that value, people will buy it. I think it's you can improve it with a fancy sales cycle and good demos, etc. But at the end of the day, this core idea of solving problems.
Okay, but let's just double click on that for a minute, because now you're talking my language as you put on your sales hat for a minute. And I agree, it comes down to ROI. But are you not finding when it comes to AI, I feel like there was this frenzy over the last year, a lot of interest, a lot of appetite and curiosity, but in some ways a reluctance to pull the trigger and buy, even when you showcase potential ROI, because I think people, I don't know if it's that there's a lack of trust or a skepticism or an inability to really understand the practical real world implications. Is that something that you've bumped up against? And if so, how do you overcome that with prospects?
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting data question, because I'm not sure it's any different than any other software. Like, to compare SaaS startups that are failing versus AI startups that are failing. But I think we have seen something unique with AI, and that is companies that are not product well defined, that their product is not well defined, meaning we have an amazing AI practice. We have the best research team. Oh, we can definitely solve that problem. Yeah, we can, we have done very similar problems already. We use this use case and this use case and this use case. And we have an engine, a magical engine of AI that solves these problems. The number of times I've heard similar pitch like that is a lot. And that doesn't sell. I haven't heard the problem, the specificity. AI companies that are successful are very vertical. They're talking the language. They're solving a specific problem. Maybe at some point you can start, widen it up. But after you solve one very specific problem, just to give an unrelated example to Tulip, think about Gong, for example. I'm sure many of our audience are familiar with Gong. They're using AI to do transcription. Okay, amazing. You can use transcriptions to so many applications. They can solve millions of applications, everything related to AI transcribe. But no, they're doing very, very specific, only for salespeople in sales calls. The topic is about optimizing sales activities. It's not about the AI. It's about solving a problem. You have a sales force. You want to improve their work. You want to debrief. You want to record. Everything is now digital. Your salespeople are all the time over Zoom. And that's what you want to solve. AI, yeah, of course. It can improve the process. It can automate many of the data insights that are needed. But that's the core. The core is solving the problem. The core is bringing value. And people that are using sales teams that are using Gongs are getting better, and they're selling more. What do you need more than that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's, it's sort of the buffet approach to AI, which is like, you tell us what you want us to do and we'll see if we can do that. That's probably likely to fail, versus a very prescriptive, focused use case approach where you're solving a specific problem. I completely agree with that. We could talk about so much more, Roey, but we're basically at time. So we're going to wrap up with the question that we always end with on this podcast. I want you to share with our listeners, if you could wave a magic wand, what is one thing in your life that you wish you could automate? And what is one thing in your life that even if you could automate, you never would?
Wow, that's so hard. Well, I will start with the one thing I don't want to automate, which is human interaction. I'm a remote employee, full-time remote employee, and I love human interaction. I think it's the brightest moment of my day, walking with people, shoulder to shoulder, thinking together, brainstorm next to a whiteboard. These things are very hard to replace. That's the core of creativity. I don't want AI to paint instead of me. I love painting. I love drawing. I love doing physical thing. So that's something that definitely is there, and it's there to stay in my world at least. AI will automate. Will moving from place to place quicker is a good automation, or it's too science fiction? I would love
if you could teleport. You mean?
Yeah, I would love to sit with you guys in the same room for that podcast, but 5 minutes after to be back home with my kids for dinner. So I think that will be great.
Doesn't have to be too science fiction-y there. I mean, if AI helps get fusion right, if we can get massive power reactors, who knows how fast we can travel, right?
Yeah, for sure. But something practical. I think I'm the worst in writing notes to myself and what tasks do I need to do. I'm one of these people that just hold everything here. And I have 7 meetings a day, and then I need tomorrow to do all the tasks that I collected during these meetings. And I tried notebook, I tried digital solution and note takers, and I tried so many things, but still I want to come in the morning. I want a paper on my desk with very checklist of things that I need to do today. I think that would be fantastic.
I love that idea.
One.
Yeah,
really
I would totally use that. Yeah, I agree. Well, this was a very interesting episode, Roey. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience and a little bit about Tulip. Why don't you tell folks listening where they can find you if they want to reach out?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, and that's very easy. You can also find me on the Tulip webpage, which is tulip.co, and you can find tons of AI cool activities and blogs and things that we're publishing. That's it.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us, and to all of our listeners, make sure that you tune in next time to Generation AI. You can find us where you listen to your most favorite podcasts. Joe, thanks for joining us today, and we will catch you all next time.
You've been listening to Generation AI,
Automating Better Business,
a show from LivePerson.
Never miss an episode by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. Please give us a rating, leave a comment, and share the episodes you love. Until next time.